Alright y'all, I got another pistol here to talk about and review today, and that one is going to be the SIG M17 series of pistols. So M17, M18, very similar to each other, the only difference being the slide length here. So a M18 will just have the slide cut to about there where my finger is, so the quote-unquote compact size that looks very similar to my first 320 I ever got, this one. So as you can see, kind of similar, very similar in a lot of ways. But yeah, the M18 is about this size, except the grip length is going to be a full size length, not a compact size like this. This is actually a compact length slide, compact length grip. So this is in all ways a 320 compact. This is quite old. It's my first 320. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about the M17, right? So, as everyone knows, these M17s, the new SIGs and everything, were meant to replace the, Beretta M9 as the standard issue sidearm of the military. And there's a lot of opinions that go both ways about whether or not the M9 should have been replaced. I'm firmly in the camp that it did not need to be replaced. I didn't think they were perfect by any means, but they were not necessarily needing to be replaced by something that is at most a side grade, in my opinion. Funny enough, my specific career field and position does not yet rate to qualify with M18s or M17s yet. So, but I have shot a military M18 in competition, a base competition that my base had, and they were using all SIG M18, pretty much brand new pistols, and so I never shot one or handled one before that. My closest experience was, like I said, my original 320. So I knew somewhat what I was doing. And I came in 5th out of 90 for the whole base in that competition. So I could have gotten better had the guy told me that the sights were zeroed at a slightly different point of impact. So let me see if I can illustrate what exactly happened. So we didn't use these exact same targets, but the guy said, he's like, oh yeah, the 3-dot sights, they're zeroed right here, point of aim, point of impact, 25 yards. I was like, okay, cool. So I had my 3-dot set up right here in the center, and it was all hitting low, so, But if I had taken the group that I had shot, and all the scores that I had shot with the pistol, and I just moved it up to where it was actually supposed to hit, I would have scored like top, 1, 2, first, second place, whatever. But that's either here nor there. That's the extent of my actual in-service experience with M17s and M18s, because we're not allowed to qualify on these just yet at my base. We're still qualifying with M9s, which is totally fine. But that is to say that even with my limited experience with these guns, I was able to perform very, very well. And that was certainly the case with this one here with the commercial model. Now, as far as I can tell, there really isn't a whole lot of huge differences in the commercial model here versus the military one. They all pretty much felt the same to me. It certainly feels the same here in this one. Same feature set, same manual safety, same design, same construction. But annoyingly, the M17 and 18 carry on the annoying trait of SIG's inability to have a rear optics plate that is not attached to the rear sight. For some reason, in SIG's engineers' infinite wisdom, they decided it was the best idea to have a rear plate that does not that is not independent of the rear sight. So if you take this plate off, you got to lose your rear sight too. So I'm not really a huge fan of that, especially because if you've looked at SIG's catalog earlier, they have pistols of the 320 design. I think they're called the RX series, which have optic mounting capabilities, but also save the rear sight, as in you can have both at the same time, which is the ideal situation that you would always want. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, this is a brand new pistol design. Why the heck did they not incorporate that with this one? I don't understand. It's another one of SIG USA's rather idiotic decisions in their engineering department, marketing department, if you ask me. So that is annoying. Not that I ever really plan to put an optic on this anyways, because I think the only one that it really fits is the Leupold Delta Point Pro. And I have never seen anyone in the service yet actually put optics on these. In fact, most people in the service don't even know that this is an optics plate. I remember because when I had my M18 for that competition, I was talking to the range officer and I was like, hey, you guys know you can put red dots on these, right? And they're like, what? No, you can't. I'm like, yeah. Why do you think this part of the slide here is a whole different color and a whole different piece? It's because you can take this off and put a red dot on it. And he's like, oh, well, I don't think we'll actually ever do that. And I'm like, yeah, you probably won't. So even then, I kind of question, because I'm sure in the trials and everything else, SIG was marketing it up as much as they could, because that's what SIG does. They market very well. Sometimes I think a little too well. And they must have said to the acquisitions board at the time, oh yeah, you guys can put red dots on here and everything. And my first thought was like, average trooper is never, ever going to rate for a red dot on his pistol. No way. And in fact, even the other kind of appeal, I guess, to the 320 series is its modular nature, right? So you can change out the grip frames and all that. I mean, I have like 5 or 6 different grip frames sitting over in my closet right now that I like to interchange with this 320. And I've done it before, and it's really cool. But I really started to question. I was like, what armorer is going to sit there and say, okay, what size grip module do you want? Do you want the small, medium, large? Do you want this one? Do you want that one? Yeah, okay, fine. And they'll take apart the gun, which doesn't take a whole lot of time, honestly. But it being military, it's like, what armorer is really going to take the time and effort to do that for every single trooper every single time? Like, it's just, no, it's not going to happen. So you're going to stick with the medium, and you're going to like it, because that's what these guns come with. So a lot of the aspects that this thing was sold on to the military, I kind of just, I'm like, it's not actually a selling point in reality. But if the suits at the acquisitions boards decided that's what they wanted, that's what they're going to get. So whatever. Anyway, despite all of that, how is this particular gun by itself, if I was just buying it as any other pistol, like not connected to the service history, not connected to my personal experiences, how is it just as a pistol? And I would say it's actually really good. Almost boring in a way. Boring in the sense of it was 100% reliable. I had no issues with it whatsoever. I think, frankly, it actually looks pretty good. I already liked the 320 before. I mean, I have one right here, and I kept it for all these years. I bought it years and years ago, and it's been a fantastic gun. I've probably have 2,000 or 3,000 rounds through that 320 alone. So I knew this one was going to be good too, and it certainly was. So the one thing I really do like about it too is the low cost. So I think this gun was like $650, I think, out the door total. So I bought it from the base gun shop, because of course they have these things, and it's no tax or anything like that. So right around $650. So it comes with that, and also the box includes, of course, the regular full-size 17-round mag, but also 2 of the extended 21-round mags. And I have seen actually some people in the service arm up with these extended magazines, so they do actually use these. And I think that's a really good value, because if you think about it, base 320 pistol like this is right around the 500 to 550 mark for basic white dots and everything. And the magazines themselves are pretty expensive, so I think these ones are like anywhere from 35 to 45 bucks, maybe even more, depending on where you get them. And of course, the extended 21-round mags are going to be astronomically expensive, almost insultingly so. So the fact that it comes with all of these, and of course factory night sights and everything else, I think these honestly, the 17s and the 18s are pretty good value for what they are. So shooting wise, ergonomics. So ergonomics are just like a 320, with the addition, of course, of the manual safety and kind of the fenced-in, reduced profile slide lock release lever right there. It's much smaller than the originals. I don't know if you call them Gen 1s, 320s, the early ones. So if you look here, this slide lock release lever is much bigger, and it doesn't have the fence around it either. So just a noticeable change there. And also that annoyingly means that any I'd say Gen 2 or modern generation 320 grip frame you get that has this style of fencing in like that, you cannot put a legacy 320 fire control unit with this slide lock release lever in the new frames. They're incompatible. It will not work. Ask me how I know. So yeah, that's unfortunate that there is not as much cross compatibility with the like I like to call them the legacy 320 platform versus the modern one. Also, you can tell, of course, that the pistol uh, trigger shoe shape itself is completely different from the originals. It's much thinner. I'm not a huge fan of that myself. I like the thicker ones because the thicker ones just, it looks more like a SIG, like a traditional SIG trigger, versus this one, which is kind of dinky. But it still works just fine. It's all metal trigger, so it works just fine. Ergonomics, though, are pretty good. I like how it looks too, without having the completely covered slide here, so it has kind of the shortened dust cover. I much prefer that look over most guns that have a complete dust cover like this. I mean, it looks more bullish and more, I don't know, to the point business like. Whereas this kind of reminds me of the old style SIGs, like the 226s and the 220s, because they also did not come out like that. They had the reduced length dust cover, which I think looks better. It kind of reminds me of a 1911 or a CZ75 in some way too. So, ergonomics, looks and everything great. For shooting it, it was actually also pretty darn good too, because 320s actually have pretty good triggers for a striker fired pistol. And that's actually one of the main things that sold me on it when I was first shopping around for this one, was the feel and the trigger pull of it, because my only experience with polymer frame pistols, striker fired pistols, was a Glock. And I hated the feel and the triggers of Glocks. But when I picked this up in the store years ago, I was like, wow, that's a really good trigger, and this feels really good in the hand. This is a great pistol. And it certainly is. And this M17 is no different. Feels very good in the hand, has an excellent trigger. Not a super good, super duper match trigger like a 1911 trigger, but good enough for duty use, duty applications. As a standard issue sidearm, the trigger is absolutely serviceable and just fine. So, and in some ways, it's actually easier for new troops or troops who don't have a whole lot of experience shooting pistols all that much, because a striker fired trigger is very easy to learn. It's literally just one trigger pull the entire time. There's no, like on the M9, there's no messing about with a decocker and a double action, single action pull. It's just one trigger pull every time. And you know, even though it does have a manual safety, which is ambidextrous, thankfully, and it also fits very, very well where my thumb sits. Absolutely awesome. Feels very natural to me, especially as a 1911 fan. This placement of the manual safety feels very, very natural to me. I love it. So yeah, manual safety is on this. I'm not sure if they teach to use this much in the classes yet, because obviously, like I said, I'm not qualified to rate I do not rate to qualify on these pistols just yet. So I've not been to a CADM class yet that demonstrates how to properly use these things in accordance with Air Force doctrine. So I would imagine they do use the manual safety as administrative things. Like, when you go to holster, you should put the manual safety on and put it in your holster, because as everyone knows, 320s do not have a trigger dingus. There's no trigger safety. So for a lot of inexperienced troops, that may be a problem. And also, of course, having to remember to, when you draw your pistol, to actually take the safety off and then shoot. But I know I've seen a lot of people have issues with that on any gun that has a manual safety at all whatsoever. I've seen so many times where it's engaged and they draw it out of their holster and they go to fire, and in the first shot you see is that, or some kind of flinch, and they're just trying to, you know, break through the safety, and you just can't. So I could foresee that being a problem with troops. But in general, I don't mind it myself. I actually quite enjoy a pistol with a manual safety, because, like I said, I still prefer 1911s, and this feels extremely natural to me. So that is a welcome feature. Yeah, so trigger's good, ergonomics is good, accuracy was also really, really darn good. I was very surprised. So given obviously the I think it's a 5-inch barrel. The sight radius here is quite long. Very, very good for, you know, target shooting and being accurate at longer distances. The M18, of course, is going to be a little less accurate, but even with the short sight radius on this one, on the compact size, I've still been able to get pretty good accuracy, I think in large part due to the ergonomics and the trigger, but also because SIG actually makes pretty good stuff sometimes. So With this gun, the very first time I took it out, I loaded it up with SIG brand V-Crown hollow points. It's like Elite Performance white box, like 50 round box. Loaded that up in this gun because I thought, okay, one, SIG ammo is very, very good, very high quality stuff. I've had nothing but great success and awesome groupings with that stuff in all calibers, and every way that I've used it, SIG ammo has been very, very good. So I figured SIG brand ammunition in a SIG pistol ought to work pretty nice, and it definitely did. The best group I got for the day with this gun on my first outing was a 1.7 inch group, 5 shots at 25 yards. So I was quite impressed with that because it being a 320 basically, and just being a service pistol, I expected the usual like kind of middling accuracy of a 3-inch group to 2.5-inch group at 25 yards. But this one definitely surprised me with the really, really nice ammo. It's match grade, I would assume. If it's defensive stuff, it's just really, really high quality ammo. Like I said, able to get that 1.7-inch group at 25 yards is very, very impressive. So, like I said, this gun is utterly boring in the sense that it's just reliable, it's accurate, it's fun to shoot, it's great to shoot, it's got a good trigger, ergonomics are good. I like the modularity aspect of it because I have invested in it so much already. And of course the I wouldn't say historical aspect so much of it yet because these things were just adopted, but I guess I have a soft spot for service sidearms, and at some point in my career these will be available for my career field when they finally decide to retire the M9s for good, because we're still using them actually. So, but yeah, overall, I will say on its own, these 320 M17s, M18s are good pistols. I have my own personal gripes a lot about SIG USA's, frankly, maddening engineering decisions, shall we say, when it comes to their product lineup and how legacy systems are not compatible with new systems, and new systems are not compatible with legacy systems, despite how much they say 320 is the most modular pistol ever, blah, 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 all the marketing hype, etc., etc. And they just seemingly make all of these changes with zero documentation and zero reason to do it. And they don't tell anyone they're doing it, they just kind of do it. Or if they have a limited production run of something, they'll make it for like a year or 2 years or something, and they'll just discontinue it altogether and not tell anybody why. So on and so forth with SIG USA. There's so many things that I could go on a rant about, but that's not really the point of this video. I just really wanted to cover the M17 service pistol and and M18s by extension, because, like I said, the only difference is the slide length here. That's it. I imagine the M18s shoot just as well as the 17s do. My own experience with M18s, like I said, I shot in that shooting competition and did quite well on it. I was happy with the performance of the gun then. Brand new. So yeah, it's rare to see a brand new service weapon. So it was definitely interesting to see that delivered. But overall, quite happy with this pistol. I would definitely rely on it, use it, carry it just like my M9. I have no problems with it. I still don't think the M9 needed to be replaced with this, but it's I'd say it's really more of a side grade than anything else. I'm just as proficient with this as I am with my M9. So overall, by itself, it is a good pistol. So kudos to SIG for that. We'll see how long they last in military service, though, because I pamper my guns, I take care of them, but of course the military does not. We'll see if these are going to last anywhere near as long as the M9s did, or in anywhere good as shape, because frankly the finish they have on these is paper thin, and anyone who's carried 320s or the newer SIGs can definitely attest to that. That finish does not last long. So anyways, I don't want to go too much into why I don't like a lot of things that SIG USA does, but M18s, M17 pistols, good to go. Recommend. They're good as any other service sidearm out there. So don't be afraid to pick one up, and I really do hope that people will like them as much as me. So have a really good experience with them. So nobody wants a bad service sidearm. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about that, and we'll catch you next time.